Hey guys, it's Olivia and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be reading some scary stories that you guys sent me a little while ago. Actually, it was quite a while ago by now. But I asked you guys on my Instagram page to send me in your scary stories, your true scary stories, so that I could read them out and everyone can hear about it. And we can maybe, I don't know, bring awareness to the situation, help you guys out, and really, they're just pretty interesting. So let's get right into it. So this first one was submitted anonymously, and they said, my family and I have been living in a really small house for almost 4 years, out in a rural forest area near a busy route and a state park. The first time something strange happened, it was when a knife flew out of the sink full of dishes at my brother while he walked by. We wrote it off as a stupid coincidence, an accident. Maybe his shirt caught on it. That was during the summer, and nothing else really happened till winter. Early in November, late at night, after my siblings went to sleep, my parents and I were still awake. My parents went outside to have a smoke and let our dog out in the fenced backyard. My mom brought a flashlight so they could keep an eye on our dog while she roamed the yard. After a few minutes, the dog started barking and growling at the furthest part of the fence. Her fur stood on end down her back. My mom shone the light along the tree line, expecting maybe a deer or raccoon. She described it as one of those games where you're trying to find out a hidden object, and then all of a sudden you see it. This has happened to me so many times. Animals, honestly, kind of freak me out because they know when something's there. Maybe you don't see anything, but then that animal over there, he's gonna start barking and just yelling his head off. It's terrifying. Something was standing on its hind legs against the back fence, resting its forelegs on top of the chain link fence. She said its head was at least 3 or 4 feet above the top of the 4-foot-tall fence, and it was partially hidden by a thick tree line. However, she could see its whole head. Its head had a snout that was similar to the shape of a possum's head, with a pointed snout but no ears, no visible nostrils. No visible mouth, only 2 large black eyes that weren't reflective like normal animals. It was a rich dark red with sort of a brindle pattern to it. She yelled and tried to point it out to my dad, keeping her light pointed at it while my dog still barked and snarled at the thing, standing there completely still. My dad wasn't able to see it, no matter how much my mom tried to point it out, and after less than a minute, she said she watched it walk backwards into the tree line, still standing upright. They ran inside with our dog, and my mom told me what she saw. My dad went back outside to check all around the property, but he never found anything. Ugh. Just imagine how terrifying that would be to see that thing. Later in November, my parents got into a bad fight at night, yelling at each other outside. My brother and I ran out to make sure he wouldn't hurt her, but he went inside the house, so I followed him to make sure he wouldn't hurt my sister, while my brother stayed outside with my mom. Soon, my mom and brother ran inside crying. They said they heard a blood-curdling scream come from the field by our house, followed by an ear-piercing yell that got closer and closer. They could hear it from inside the house. My dad went out into the field and claimed he shot something, but we never found any evidence of anything. We didn't sleep that night because we were afraid of something breaking in. The final time we saw it was early one morning around the middle of January. My brother and I looked out our living room window when we woke up, looking past the tree line at the field behind our house. It was standing far out in the field, still and upright. When I went to wake our parents, it was gone. We haven't seen or heard anything from it again, and I haven't been able to find any information on anything that looks similar to what we saw or heard. Guys, if you have seen or know anything about a creature like this, please comment about it down below. Maybe there's someone out here who has experienced something similar, and we can help each other. A second story was sent to us by Viccann, VVICCANN on Instagram, and they said, ever since I was little, I was fascinated with Leroy Robert Ripley and would bug my mom to go see his museums every time there was one nearby. The odd things he collected fascinated me. I never really thought about owning stuff myself, but after I received a vintage doll, I became obsessed. Anyways, fast forward quite a few years, I have been growing my collection to where it now takes up a whole wall in my room. I was looking on eBay for vintage or haunted objects with interesting pasts. As much as I love the odd side of things, I never believed in spirits or ghosts or whatnot. I had come across a clown music box that caught my eye and knew I had to have it. $200 later, I had it shipped to my house and added it to the shelf, thinking absolutely nothing of it. I had bought items a million times and never had problems with a single one. My cat took a disliking to it, batting it and hissing at it, but I dismissed it and moved it to a higher shelf to try to prevent her from damaging it in any way. I was already old and the description said it didn't play music anymore, about a couple weeks after arriving at my house. I could hear banging and stuff, but I lived in an apartment at the time, so it was pretty normal to hear loud noises throughout the night. But it kept happening. I had been on the phone with a friend telling her about it when she suggested it was the clown. Of course I laughed at this and jokingly went up to the clown box, calling it all types of names, thinking it was funny. Once I had gotten off with my phone, I headed to bed. Around 2 a.m., I remember so vividly hearing a song coming from the other room where I kept my collection, so I got up and went to check it out. Lo and behold, the music box was playing the unsettling tune, Send in the Clowns. Seeing a clown box play music in a dark room at 2 a.m. would make anyone piss themselves, especially when it wasn't supposed to be able to play anymore. I picked it up off the shelf and decided I was going to find another home the very next morning. As I started to exit the room to go to the living room, where I was going to keep until the next day, I heard someone running across the floor, out of the living room and into the kitchen. And mind you, as I said earlier, they were living alone. Loud banging followed like someone was just demolishing anything they saw. I knew what the normal noises sound like coming from the other apartments, but this was in my apartment. I ran into my bedroom, clown in hand and all, thinking someone had broken in or something, and called the police. They show up, check for signs, and tell me they found no sign of a break-in or anything, and that I was probably just sleep deprived and heard a neighbor. I reluctantly accepted this explanation, but even the next day I got noise complaints from my neighbors. Still in present day, weird stuff happens around my new home. I never got rid of the clown, as scary as the experience was. I actually named him Leroy after Ripley. He still plays randomly sometimes, but I've gotten used to it over time. Let's just say I believe in ghosts now. That is terrifying. I have a couple of dolls myself. I have one that plays music and this old creepy looking piano that plays music, and there's been times where they've played on their own. So I understand. I know it's creepy and I hate it, but sometimes it just makes it kind of cooler. It adds character. You always want things to have character, so there you go. I've been trying to get my little piano thing to work, but it's not. I don't know why. I haven't been using it a bunch, but it normally plays Scott Joplin's The Entertainer. So there's that. Who knows why it's not playing, but sorry. Also got this doll here, just wound her up. Plays Memories. Can imagine how creepy that would be, finding it at, I don't know, like 3 a.m., starting playing randomly. So we have one more story that was sent in anonymously, and it is another paranormal experience. I love these types of things. They're just so interesting. Weird things happen all the time. But here we go. They said, so ever since I was a child, I've seen things no one else can. My mom often reminds me of when I was 5, when I pointed at the wall and said, look, that man is hanging and he has a shadow. That's terrifying. Obviously, you could say this was my imagination as a child. As I started growing up, I could feel strong waves of negative energy and if there were ghosts around. When I was 10, I live in the UK, I went to a place called Fairplay House where you could stay for 2 nights and 3 days. We heard that it was a place where bad stuff had gone down and wasn't a place anyone liked. Now, I was in a room with around 7 of my friends, and the first night was horrible. I was homesick and all my friends were asleep, and I had a bed opposite the door. They were all bunk beds. My friend slept on the top and I slept on the bottom. And I was just looking out the door when I saw a girl. Super long pitch black hair and paper white skin. And I mean white. Like the whitest you can imagine. So like me. She was wearing a long white dress and was falling behind her along with her hair. It sounded like loads of girls were running, but it was just her walking across the hall. Fast forward to last year, December 22nd, I went to India to visit my now dead grandmother. As soon as I stepped into the house, I felt a really bad source of negative energy, and something kept telling me it was a woman, and that she wanted to hurt me because I knew she was there. My mom's friend who lived in India would often come to visit us, and he told my mom he saw someone, a woman, walking on the balcony outside the bedroom. I hadn't talked to anyone about it until I got home. And fast forward to last night. My family and I had gone out to eat and we were going to drop my cousin off home in the car. I was looking out the window, kind of pissed because I was still hungry. Oops. Same. And I saw this woman looking down. Something seemed off to me, like she wasn't supposed to be there or something. As we drove past her, she disappeared. I turned around to see her, but she wasn't there. And then they said, I just remembered this. Last year at my cousin's wedding in August, we were in a church and there were usually balconies atop the door. No one went upstairs and no one was going to go upstairs to the balcony, but I saw someone, possibly a dead nun, who had really dirty clothes, like they had been buried or something, and she walked across the balcony and disappeared into the wall. I told my mom as soon as it happened. She told me not to leave my chair because if it was something, it could possess me. As soon as it happened, I no longer had service on my phone, but there was service on everyone else's. People may think I'm lying about all this, but I know it's true. I live with the fear that someone or something may be after me because of this thing I have. I feel like I'm going mad. I am so sorry this happened to you. You know, I hope that nothing happens to you. Just stay safe. If anyone has something like this where they can see things or hear things and just have all these different paranormal experiences, it can be terrifying. But the most important thing is your safety. So always keep on the alert. Like, please, please. And that's all the stories I have for today. If you would like me to make another video on this, just comment down below and let me know that you liked it, because we do have a couple more stories and these are all sent in from you guys. So if you have anything you want to tell me about, any interesting stories, please feel free to just DM me or even comment, because I love to read them. I love to hear from you guys. And as always, my Instagram and Twitter is down below. So go ahead and check that out, to my personal and to my Instagram pages. So until next video, bye guys.